All right, check. Y'all tuned in to another episode of the LABL podcast presented by Lead and Be Legendary, and I'm your host, Name Tag Alexander. Yo, make sure y'all check out, and I'm going to keep saying this, make sure y'all check out the Work, Win, Repeat single produced by Black Beethoven. It is featured by, I don't want to say up and coming. I hate saying up and coming. It is featuring Junie. She's a songwriter, MC, also a producer herself. Very dope. She actually dropped a track. I'm not gonna say it was a single, but she dropped a freestyle. It was earlier in the month of June, conveniently Junie, but it was earlier in the month of June. She dropped it around her birthday, but it was called Junie's Joint, and it is fire. She snapped. Anyway, check that out. I got the link in the description. In fact, I'll put the Junie's Joint in there as well. Make sure y'all order some merch. LeadandBeLegendary.net. We got the Lead and Be Legendary t-shirts. We got the Lead and Be Legendary snapback hats. I think I may have took them down. I'm going to have to go double check that. Yeah, I got to do a better job at maintaining the merch on the website. I need to probably hire somebody to do that if I can afford it, unless you're willing to volunteer. However, we got the LABL snapback fitteds on there. We got the dad hats on there for sure. I know I didn't take those down. And then we still got the Work, Win, Repeat, Hella Victory Edition shirts on there, which you can see me modeling with my model style self on the internet. I'll put some more pics of those up, whatever, just so y'all can see and check out the shirts, whatever. But I've shown them before. But anyway, if you're new to the show, like I say, hit the link. It's in the description. Again, I mentioned this in the previous episode, but all of the episodes of the LABL podcast can now be watched. I guess, can you say watched? Because technically it's not really an actual video on YouTube. I just really got the audio up on YouTube so you can listen to all of the latest episodes of the LABL podcast on YouTube. But do me a favor and make sure you subscribe to the YouTube. I was going to say make sure you like the YouTube page like it's a Facebook page, but make sure you subscribe to the Lead and Be Legendary YouTube page. There is a couple videos on there. I want to say, no, just one. It's one. I had a clip of the Work, Win, Repeat episode with Black Beethoven on there. Yeah, so I guess it's one piece of a visual on there, and we're going to actually end up getting some videos on there soon on the YouTube page. But in the meantime, subscribe. This next episode got Theo Ellis on. Theo Ellis is by way of Port Huron, Michigan. And man, he's a music publisher. He's a label owner of Detroit Digital, but he runs the company Prosound Media, and all type of gems dropped in this episode. There's certain episodes you can listen to and you're just going to get gems. You're going to recognize that I sat back mostly the entire time. It was just like a student. Some of those are like my favorite episodes, but this episode falls in line with the likes of the one that I did with Uncle P. You're going to have to go way back for that episode. You know, I'm like 50 plus deep right now in the episodes with Uncle P. It falls in line with the Nicole Churchill episode, the College of Hip Hop episode. Shout out to SJ and AJ, April Woodard. Shout out, episodes like that. It falls in line with those. So just sit back. If you're a music artist, turn this episode up. I'm saying it like it's a track. Turn it up, bump to it. Nah, but a lot of gems dropped in this episode. I'm talking way too much, so we're going to get right into it. Check it out. Let us know what you think. If you're on Apple Podcasts, leave a rating and a review. Trust me, it helps. Just do it. Just do it.
Let me live out my dream. Let me live out as what I intended to be. If you got me, then I can probably see.
So go ahead and introduce yourself to the listeners, man.
My name is Theo Ellis. I am the founder of Prosound Media, and we're a music publisher and label and artist services company.
Dope, very dope. And it's interesting because I always talk about like the power of social media, and I just recall like one day I hadn't even planned on going on Facebook, and then just some told me just go on there, just check out the timeline, see what's going on. Just happened to come across a post. Shout out to Uncle P. And
yes.
He made a post about your services. And at the time, I was just telling everybody, like, yeah, man, I'm looking for like a publishing administration so I could properly, collect my royalties as far as my performance royalties. Obviously, for artists that don't know, there is a difference between mechanical and, the performance. So
And
Yeah,
digital.
yeah, exactly. And I'm learning. I'm learning that. So, yeah, I saw it and I was like, well, let me go ahead and check this out because Uncle P never misses when he's like recommending something, whether it's an article or just somebody's services that artists should really check out. And I went ahead and did it, and here we are, man. You know,
Yeah, and it's been a pleasure, making your acquaintance. And you're right. P is, I've known that brother, man, going back, honestly, like, bro, like to early mid '90s. Do you know what I mean?
wow,
Like we go that far back, and and I wasn't always doing this then. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
But yes, he's always been a solid brother and a solid resource. I mean, he's connected me with many people as I was, furthering my career and coming up. And hey, you might want to holler at this person or that person, or this one can help you out, or if you got a question, you should talk to this person. And P's always been that great connector and great facilitator. So shout out
yeah.
to Uncle P for
He,
always being him.
yeah, even when he's not trying to. Like I did, I want to say like one of the earlier episodes with him, and just based off me doing that, this is like at the time I'm brand new to podcasting. It's like 2016. By me doing that, that's how I ended up connecting with these twins. A shout out to SJ and AJ. And at the time, they still have the website and the app actually, the collegeofhiphop.org. And just based off that episode, one of them reached out to me just about advertisement on my show, and I was like, okay, that was like my first time just like even dealing with advertising with the podcast. And I was like, just because of him, they're like, yeah, we rock with Uncle P. We heard the episode, man, and we think you're dope. We want to rock with you. And should we have a relationship to this day just based on that?
That's the power of P right there.
Yeah, man,
If he
exactly.
say it, he put that stamp on it, it's real.
I was like, man, that was an episode. Just I had him phone in. I think I had him on speakerphone, and we just we kicked it, man, just chopped it up, and it was a dope episode. I want to say it was like episode 6, but man, I looked over some of your profile early on, of course, like just by finding out through Uncle P about you, and you did you went to Specs Howard, I believe, for TV and radio broadcasting, correct?
Yep.
Okay, talk about that experience.
So I mean, it was a great experience for one. It's since they've since relocated. At the time when I took it, they were located off of Greenfield, or off 696. But when I took it, the experience was this: they taught you both sides, radio and television. As I understand it now, if someone's to register, you have to choose which one do you want to learn about.
Yeah.
So I actually kind of got it. It was better when I had it because they taught you everything at that time.
Okay.
So it was a great experience. I'm glad I went. It's helped me at earlier stages in my career. I worked in radio for a bit early on, and coming up even for me. I started out, my journey as a DJ, and even being on air and stuff at our high school radio station. So I did that. Then that parlayed into going to Specs Howard to get my degree in broadcast communications and whatnot, and that led to a job working at the local radio station. I'm out of the Port Huron area. Shout out to Poho. Okay.
Dope.
We at the end of 94, you just keep going till you can't go no more.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, like, so where you're from and everything, like, because I was wondering, like, is he from Detroit? Like, I never really looked that far into it as far as like just research and everything. But Port Huron, okay.
Yep. So that's
all Michigan,
Absolutely. So, but yeah, man, and so that's kind of been my journey, and it's all evolved, and everything for me has been organic. Like I said, started as a DJ. From that, got a job interning at recording studios, Studio A in Dearborn, one of the top studios. Interned there for a few years. I was a studio rat. Like I was one of those guys that was just, let me just hang out here all the time. I just want to be here and soak it up. Like that's
the best way to learn.
And so they started out. First job I had was accumulating a sample library for these guys, because at the time, this is you're talking 89, 90, 91, and hip hop's still brand new. Sampling is still brand new. But it's starting to take hold. And so they wanted, they put me in charge of building their sample library. So all I did was just sample different stuff and save the sound. start to accumulate a sample library for them. I eventually got to, work on some mixing and learned about mixing and things like this, and kind of made my way up to first assistant and whatnot. So, but then from there, I start producing. Eventually, many years later, I open my own studio. Get into publishing and start. By the way of releasing music is how I got into publishing.
Wow.
Because one of the first cuts that I have a group called the Lyricist. And we've been putting out music since, again, mid-'90s. That's where me and P connected originally. He interviewed me and my group when he was doing his radio show.
I was just going to say, was he doing radio Ford at this time? Okay.
Yep. When he was doing the radio show at Henry Ford, DC and Origix. Shout out to those guys.
Man, those are my guys.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like those, so we're doing that, and but when we put out our stuff, from being in and around the studio and having a grasp on the business side of things early on, I knew how important it was to make sure that we have everything in order. So I took it upon myself to make sure all of our samples were cleared. And so that was my real first official publishing move, was getting these samples cleared.
What is what is that process though? Because it's a lot of artists and got labels that don't do it. So you say you took it upon yourself. Like, what's that process of just clearing samples?
Step one is research, because you have to know who you're asking permission from. So that's step one, is researching it to find out who owns the rights to whatever the song is that you're sampling.
Okay.
That's step one. Once you find that out, then step two is filling out the proper paperwork, which typically involves there's one form, a sample clearance sheet. Different companies may have a template. Like if say there was a song you sampled that Universal Music owns the rights to.
Right.
If you go to Universal Music's website, somewhere on there'll be a link to their licensing form that you can download for sample clearance. You know what I mean? And each entity may have their own version of it. But that's basically what it boils down to. And then from then, it's a negotiating game. The factors that go into consideration for sample clearance are, the first and foremost, what song you're sampling. B, how much of that song you're sampling, where it's at in the song. Is it just the intro, or is it the chorus and main part of this song and the melody? All these different factors come into play. And then the last factor that comes into play is, how many copies are you distributing? Now, nowadays it's different because of streaming, so everything goes out worldwide. But back in the day, with physical copies, they want to know how many physical copies are you getting pressed up, because that's all would come into factor and consideration for how much they're going to charge you to clear the sample. For example, if you have 100,000 copies getting pressed up, well, that's potentially 100,000 copies that you're going to make money from. So we want X amount of money to clear this sample. If you're only getting 1,000 copies pressed up, well, then that's only there's only 1,000 copies worth of money there. So it changes the number and the formula that they use, right? But like I said, it's a little bit different now with digital streaming, because everything goes out worldwide, and they kind of take that out of consideration. Now, it's not as big a consideration as it once was because of the digital platforms. But at the end of the day, I mean, that's what it basically boils down to. And hopefully, they, first of all, say yes.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't realize is anybody has the right to say no.
Yeah, it's like it's my music. I don't.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing to me that I've always, this one really gets me, and I have tons of attorney friends within the industry, and no one, has the answer for this one, and I still can't figure this one out. If I want to do a cover song of your song, I don't need your permission. I can just take your song, I can, play the beat, I can sing the song, I can do whatever, you know what I'm saying? And I can release that, and I can make money from it, and I don't need your permission, and it's completely legal, okay? It's called a compulsory license, and that's what U.S. copyright law allows. They allow anybody to cover anyone's work so long as, A, you properly keep tabs on your sales, and B, you pay the mechanical licensing fee, which is 9.1 cents.
Okay.
So if I do a cover song of Beyonce, which that ain't happening, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, is that up for grabs? Like,
You know
I
what I'm
was
saying?
thinking of like the bigger name artists off top.
Right. You know what I mean? Like I can do that, and I can release whatever song I want. Okay, as long as I'm paying her 9.1 cent for every copy that I sell. Right?
Wow.
That's the law. That's it. It's plain and simple. I don't need your permission. So it's always been odd to me that I don't need your permission to basically use your entire song, but I do need permission to use 1 second of it, or even a half a second of it when you sample something.
Interesting.
If I want to use your snare drum, Pat, and I sample just that snare drum, I need your permission for that. Yet if I want to use the entire song that snare drum was in, I don't need
No permission. And then you said
Yeah.
it's 9.1%.
9.1 cent, less than a dime.
Oh, okay, I got you. That makes wow. Yeah, why is it that way? Do they even have like
No one seems to be able to, give me a solid answer other than, well, that's just the law. You know what I mean? Like,
man?
So I don't get it. You know what I mean? I really don't get it. I think part of it does hinge upon the creative and their, like you said, it's their intellectual property. It's their baby. It's their work. And so they do get to say what happens with it, whether you take it and do an interpolation of it or, put your own spin on it or whatnot. So, I mean, derivative works are considered sampling, basically. So if we're going to do a derivative work or something, then you need permission. If you're going to sample it, you need permission. So anything that alters the original, you need permission. And there is exception because when you get into things like satire, okay, you have a guy like Weird Al Yankovic.
I was just gonna say, is that what he? Yeah,
Right?
that's okay.
But for his, see, he needs permission for what he's doing because his is not just satire. He's doing completely original derivative works, right? They're completely new works that he's putting together, right? So he does need permission on his. But there is room within the satire department that you can do, certain things without permission, So it gets interesting. It gets complex. It's when you're talking about publishing, when you're talking about copyrights, that is a rabbit hole that once you start going down it, brother, you can find yourself going and going and going and going because there's so many layers to it. You know what I mean? Like you talk about and peeling the layers. There's just so many layers to it, and I just do my best to stay abreast of everything new and current. The laws are always changing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what I do.
Yeah, I see it all the time. Like I follow the ASCAP Daily Brief, so every once in a while I get an email and they're talking about new changes as far as copyright laws and just everything. So I'm always trying to keep my eye on that. It'd be a lot to like take in, but I just be trying to like keep my eye on and find out what's going on. Just staying aware of what's going on. Talk about I was going to say your label, because I know you mentioned like, you have your own music label, like you say, you do the publishing, but like Detroit Digital, right?
Yep.
Like what's the backstory to that?
So Detroit Digital was founded, again, everything with me has been an organic journey, and everything kind of came out of necessity. I got into publishing because I needed, wanted to clear the samples, needed to get the samples cleared. So I learned about it, and that kind of started my world on publishing. The label came about because, in publishing, one of the ways you make money is sync licensing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And, after getting a couple syncs placed, I learned very quickly that, you get paid two ways from a sync license. One on the master side, whoever owns the publishing, and then one on the sound recording or label side, whoever owns the label. And so I'm like, if I had a label, then there could be a whole nother chunk of money that I could be getting that I'm not currently getting. So that was the basis of starting the label, just so that we could control the master and the sound recording.
Because always with all labels, I guess I would say in general, the label off top owns the master to that, unless said artist, works out something where they do own their master. Because that's
correct.
It's always the thing.
Correct.
You always hear about artists saying, "Yeah, I own my masters," and it's like that's a big deal. So okay, that makes sense.
Yep. And so that's how it originally started, right? But then from that, talking with Uncle P, and I said, man, think about bringing on some artists, and actually taking this label from just something that's used for sync to actually, being a label and whatnot. And P said, he thought it was a great idea, and he wanted to be on board. So brought P on, and he brought him on as head of A&R for the label, and that's what kind of launched it from there. And so now we've got artists that we represent from the U.S. and Canada, um, internationally, and then we also have some artists from the UK that we're putting material out for.
Nice.
So it's just everything's just grown organically, like I said, and it was never a vision or dream. I would have never, if you asked me this 25 years ago, would I be a publisher and label? That was not in my plans. You know what I mean? It just happened. Everything happened out of necessity, and
I
I've enjoyed it.
I can relate to that because if you ask me half the stuff that I know now, it's like, yeah, I wasn't trying to though. It's like I was forced into knowing it like on my own.
Yeah,
You know what I
absolutely,
mean?
absolutely. That's the same with me, man. And I thoroughly enjoy being that conduit for the artists, for the writers, on the publishing side, helping people find unclaimed royalties. Like that brings me joy when I go, look what I found for you. And they're like, oh my God, I didn't even know that was out there. And I don't care if it's micro pennies or if it's, big money.
It's the
You know
fact
what I
is
mean?
yeah, it's just the fact
Like,
that it's out
it's,
there.
yeah, and that it's yours. Like this is yours. It belongs to you. You know what I mean? Like, and I feel good helping people find that. I feel good when we get people sync licensing because obviously that pays nice. And so,
Yes.
to be able
Yes,
to
it
help
does.
artists, make money from their music and their careers, that brings me joy. But then also on the label, that's on the publishing side. But then on the label side, helping people get their music out there. We release to 240 countries worldwide. We have a distribution deal with Believe Digital. Um, and for those who don't know Believe Digital, they're the parent company of TuneCore. So they're the company that owns TuneCore.
TuneCore got so wait, okay, so I was just gonna say, like, does TuneCore own them or is it the other way around? But you
No,
confirmed
they
it.
own Tune. Yeah, Believe owns TuneCore.
Okay.
And so like there would be no TuneCore if not for Believe. So it's all Believe's infrastructure. And they're a great partner to have because they give us, when we do a release, um, we are able to give them all of the information ahead of time, and they're able to reach out to their partners around the world, and get us good looks and promotional. We've had artists that have debuted top 5 on the charts in Malaysia.
Wow.
And that's primarily through our relationship with Believe and their relationship with their partners in Malaysia, right? So they're definitely a good partner to have for us. But yeah, man, like I said, I've totally enjoyed the journey of helping these artists get their music out there, get it to the world, and bring their visions to life.
Yeah, man, and that's what it's really about. You know what I mean? It's. I always say, like, with me, like, the older I get in being involved in the music industry, it's like it becomes more about being a service. That's one of the, like, not one of the main reasons I started a podcast, because it really just kind of happened. Like, all right, let me just go ahead and see what this is about, and let me set up the mic and just go ahead and record an episode. But then I started doing it. Like, for prime example, this episode now, this is like just a prime piece of information for people that might tune in that aren't even music artists. They might just be listening and be seeking to get involved in the same fields that we're discussing, and just be like, oh, okay, so this is how we clear a sample. Okay, so that's what I need to do. I just learned myself about the whole thing with the cover songs, like 9.1. What? And I could just go ahead and record, like, man, let me go do some cover songs. Really, just
well, and that's the thing too. Like, and you're so spot on. Maybe you should do some cover songs. You know what I mean? Because here's the thing, like, this is the one thing a lot of people forget about, and for even myself, I for many years I forgot about this until one day it clicked.
Mhm.
This is the music business. Everybody always forgets that second word. As creatives, we get caught up. We make our piece of art, and we get creative with it. But every one of us forgets that this is a music business, right? And it's there. It exists to make money.
Yeah,
That's
from day
the whole
one.
thing. That's the whole point of it. And so, like, once that clicked for me, once that switch went on, then I started seeing all the ways there is to make money. Like, for example, cover songs. oh, I could release this song. Say you're a great singer and you do this amazing cover, John Legend, whatever, and now your song gets a million hits or whatever. You're making money from that. You know what I mean? And so is John Legend, because again, you got to pay
Yeah.
him his 9%, right? But you're making money. Now you found a way to make money for yourself that obviously you wouldn't have been making money from.
Listen, let me tell you, man. I know a lot of artists that that do cover songs and don't release them. And later on tonight, I'm pretty sure I'm going to contact those artists like, hey, did you know?
No,
Like, you need to probably.
You should. And if they need help, getting compulsory license, I can help set that up, because you have to give the other person notice. That's part of that's what a compulsory license is. It's you letting them know. By the way, I covered your song, or I'm going to cover your song, and here's my contact info, and I'll be in touch to get you your money, basically. But you have to get that, or you can just ask for the license from them.
Right.
Those are ways about it. But with the compulsory, you don't ask, you just do.
Man.
So, and compulsory, I mean, on one hand, the compulsory is a little bit easier. On the second hand, it's something like every 30 days you have to report your royalty statement.
Oh, man.
Right? So there's a little bit more work involved, because every 30 days they want to know, what'd you do?
Yeah.
But either way, I mean, definitely spread the word. And if anybody needs any help with that, feel free to reach out to me. I don't have a problem.
So
that's one of my things I love doing, is helping people out.
Talk about the and it kind of ties into this as well. Like I like the tagline for the how do you pronounce the publishing company? Is it SILLE?
SILLE.
It is SILLE. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like SILLE. Yep.
Got it. Now I like the tagline for that. It says empowering musicians everywhere, and like you say, you like helping artists. Just helping them.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Just discovering like what they may have, the unknown, basically. Kind of speak to that, and because it's connected with Prosound Media. Like you mentioned how a lot of the things is organic, right? So kind of speak to you recognizing the need to create and develop this type of company, because you could have easily just said, let me just only make this specific to Detroit Digital, right? Let this be a sister company to that, and it only be for these artists. What made you just break from that and say, hey, Prosound Media, SILLE Publishing, this is going to be for artists who come across this site, whether it be word of mouth, online, or me just reaching out to people? Like, what helped you discover that need?
The first thing I'll say is, as far as publishing, one of the things I learned early on was that publishing is one of the most important areas in the music business that every single person in the music business should know about.
Mm-hmm.
Yet it is the least understood by every single person in the music industry. And I mean every person, not just like me and you. I mean, you can talk to big wigs at companies, and like if you talk to a guy that works for Atlantic Records, he has a basic understanding of publishing, but he doesn't know it, and he doesn't want to know it. He's like, that's what we have, so and so publishing for. They handle that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, so, because it's so complex, So, I mean, right away, it was something that I'm like, man, people got to learn about this. And I'm like, if anything, I'll at least learn about it, and I'll try and pass it on to my friends and, people that want to listen or whatnot. And for me, one of the stories I always tell people is, so I made a beat for somebody, because like I said, I make this beat. And remember, when a song is made, there's two sides of the copyright.
Right.
There is the music and the lyrics. Okay. That's what composes a song, music and lyrics. Without either one of those, music without lyrics is not a song.
Exactly.
And lyrics without music is poetry.
Basically.
So, and obviously there's exceptions. I mean, you could take jazz music; those are songs. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. But that's the way it's set up. So I made the music. Guy comes in and raps. Okay, I'm trying to get the song registered, and I tell him, hey, let me get your IPI number so that I can get this properly registered. For anyone that doesn't know, your IPI number stands for Interested Party Information. That's the number that your PRO gives you, ASCAP, BMI, whichever one you're signed with, that you tie all your songs to, and you register all your songs underneath that number so that they know who to pay when royalties need to be distributed. And so I asked the guy that so that I could get him paid. Okay, mind you, I'm asking him for this information, get him paid. Okay, he doesn't understand that. And he's like, oh, you're not getting my number there. Like, he's thinking like I'm asking for his social security number or something, like I'm somehow going to rip him off. I'm like, no, you're not understanding. By giving me the number, this is what ensures you get paid. And long story short, this guy got so heated about it, he threatened to come by my house and shoot up my crib because he thought I was trying to steal from him. And I'm
Yikes.
like, bro, no, it's not that serious. Like, I'm trying to help you. You're not understanding it. And so that's when I was really like, man, there are people really do not get this stuff. Like, I got to figure out a way to really break this down for people and help them understand it, right? And so I was able to do that. Like now, what I do when we're looking at anybody that's coming into publishing, and you and I have had this conversation.
Yeah.
I found, and anybody that wants to talk about publishing or that's thinking about bringing me on as a publisher, the first thing I do is break down the history of music publishing, where it started, how it started, why it started, and bring people up to speed so they have a better and complete understanding of what music publishing is. People have enough information by the time that we're done talking, they could go and do their own publishing if they wanted to. But 9 times out of 10, they go, you know what? Thank you for now that I understand all that, but will you please handle that while I just focus on creative?
Thank you. I have the knowledge now.
That's what we're here for. Like, absolutely. We want creatives to focus on being creative, and we'll handle the admin, boring stuff, But I want you to understand what exactly I'm doing. So, A, you know what to expect from me, but B, you also just know how this industry works. It's important, it's important you know how you get paid. You would not take a job at McDonald's and not know what day payday is or how your check comes. Is it coming direct deposit, paper check?
It's a good way to look at it.
Whatever. So that's what this is. Again, it boils back to the music business. People keep forgetting that little word business. They do the music and they forget about the business. And so I've really made it, a mission of mine to empower the musicians, educate them, help them as much as I possibly can, so that they can, once they're armed with that knowledge, they're better equipped moving forward, whether it's with me or anybody else.
Yeah, man. It's a need. Like I said, it's always just kind of like fulfilling that need. And artists may not even understand that these are things that they need to understand. Again, like you said, that second word, business, at the end of the day. We spoke about sync placements earlier. Like, talk about some of the placements that you guys secured, through SILLE. Like, what are some of those?
Right now we got a gift that keeps on giving, and that is a placement we did for Coca-Cola for a Sprite commercial featuring LeBron James. You've probably seen it at one time or another. It's the one he's standing around and he's like, even they're like eating tacos or something. He's like, even if my mouth was on fire and blah, 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 I wouldn't tell you to drink a Sprite, and then at the end, he's like, I'd ask you, right? Like,
yeah. I know what you're talking about now. I remember you mentioned it before when we talked off air, and I was trying to figure out, I know LeBron did a few Sprite commercials, but then I thought about it. He had the like sarcastic grin on his face the whole time.
Right.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that one's become what we call an evergreen because it keeps on giving. So we originally had that license just for Sprite just for the territory of Canada. It got great, they had a great run there. It was 6 months. They came back to us and wanted to do a reuse license for the United States. Mm-hmm. It ran in the United States, then they came back again, ran it again in Canada 2 more times. And remember, each time they do this, it's another licensing fee.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and then just recently, not even 2 weeks ago, we just got an email from them saying they now want to take it to Australia, Australia, New Zealand, Samoa, Fiji, a bunch of smaller islands, all in Australia being the biggest of the territories. So, that one's been great for us, but we've also had Victoria's Secret's placements, Allegra, the allergy commercial, Allegra we've done stuff for. We've had stuff featured on what is that, on ABC, Undercover Boss.
Okay, that's a big one. Boss. Yeah.
And then on the CBC in Canada, the Canadian Broadcast channel, there's a show called Kim's Convenience, which is a sitcom about a Korean convenience store owner named Mr. Kim's Convenience, right? So, and we've had music featured on that several times as well as Wang's World. If you're familiar with Wang's World on Vice,
Not too familiar. No, at first I thought you said Wayne's World. I'm thinking like, what? Like, wait a minute, y'all. Y'all been...
H-U-A-N-G.
Oh,
Wang.
okay.
Wang, right? But Wang's World's a dope show. You should check that out. You can check it on YouTube and stuff.
Tight.
But yeah, so I mean, those are just some of the stuff, and we're always looking for more and continued placements. We've also done some library work for music production libraries, which is just like instrumental cues and stuff.
Yeah.
They'll say, we're looking for trap beats or whatever, and we'll send them over, a bunch, and then they'll put together a whole library based off of our beats. So it's just different stuff.
Is there a specific genre that you all deal with when it comes to the sing licensing that outshines the other? Like, is hip hop, does it perform better than maybe like an R&B? You know what I mean? Like, is it
the thing is, yes and no. I mean, right now, hip hop is definitely all the rage, right?
Yeah.
But it's certain type of hip hop. It's not, like I tell people, the way I try and explain to people, if you think Dr. Dre, right? Like that always does well when it comes to hip hop placements. Just like dun, 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 dun. Like those type.
That's the beat that I thought
sound,
of immediately.
Like that. Yeah, like when you think Dr. Dre sound like that, that's the stuff that works well. They're not necessarily wanting something with a glide bass in there, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But they can. It depends. I mean, there can be stuff that they use that is like glitch hop or has heavy EDM and pop influences. It just depends. The number one thing when it comes to sync is this. We don't ever know, and honestly, I don't think they even know the people that want it. The director will know it when they put it to the music and put the music with the video. They're going to shoot the commercial or even if it's a scene in a film or TV, they may have a better idea. But let's take a commercial, for example. They'll be like, you know what? We want some music that has this type of feel. And it may be down tempo. It may be a party feel. It may be a chill vibe, whatever. They're going to give us a brief that says, we're looking for something that has this feel. And then we'll submit the music. And when they line it up with that video, they'll know which one fits the best with that video. But they don't know it until they actually see it and hear it. Do you know what I mean? Like, they just have an idea.
Got to match the visual with the sound just overall.
Right. And, that's the synchronization portion of it, right?
Why? Well, no, go on. What were you going to say?
And so, like, I tell people all the time, people think, hey, man, I got this great song about a Ford Mustang. Can you get it in a Ford Mustang commercial? Probably not. Because Ford Mustang doesn't necessarily want a song about Ford Mustang. You know what I mean? What they want is something that just has the right vibe and feel.
Yeah.
It might have anything to do with that, They may have a commercial that, for whatever, let's say they had a commercial with, they show a convertible Mustang driving to the top of where there's a cliff and it's nighttime and there's, my man's got his arm around his girl and stuff like this. Do you think they want music about I love my Ford Mustang in that moment? No.
Yeah, it's not going to match up.
They're going to want something more chill and like seductive, like that makes the car look sexy. Do you know what I'm saying? So it just depends on what they shot and what they need, what their needs are.
Why do you think like so many artists are unaware of sync licensing, or if they are aware, they kind of turn a blind eye to it?
I think it's more of a not knowing thing. Although it's definitely gaining a lot more popularity. I can say this: when I first started doing sync licensing, there were hardly anybody knew about it. Like especially on the production side, for producers and stuff, everybody was chasing that major placement. If I could just get my track on Jay-Z's album, if I could just get my track to T.I., if I could just get my track to I Swear Vessel, I'll be straight.
Yeah, no, that's real.
You know what I mean? Like that's the path everybody was chasing. You know what I mean? Now I think it's definitely more and more people are learning about sync licensing. The market's getting a little bit more crowded, but there's still a ton of people they're just not aware of it, and that just boils down to lack of understanding the business and all the ways that you can make money from this business.
Yeah, man, because it's definitely a huge revenue stream, and I would like for more artists to be aware of it, but at the same time, it's like, okay, cool, go ahead and not be aware. I'm just go ahead and move over this way. Y'all go ahead and do that. Y'all, go ahead over there. Focus
Absolutely.
on, like you said, trying to get the major placements, which is nothing wrong with that. But it's like, hey, I kind of figure something out over here. So y'all come along when y'all ready.
There's there's a company in LA right now that's buying everyone's rights up, right? Like, so if you've got music, they'll, you can send them your music, and if they like it, they will make you an offer, like a nice offer. Now, mind you, you're selling off your rights to them.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So is that like is that like a certain type of publishing deal?
Yeah, you're assigning full rights over to them. So you're relinquishing your rights. They're buying you outright. You know what I mean? So they will own the rights to that music, henceforth, and you'll never see another dime from it. And people say, well, why would you do that? Well, why would you do that? Just depends, man. Like, it's business. That's why would you do it. I mean,
how much do you care about those songs?
Like, what is that number talking? People ask me all the time, excuse me. People ask me all the time, what, is this a good deal? They'll come to me, I'll have friends, hey, I got this label wants to sign me, or this or that. Is this a good deal? Well, I don't know. What's your situation like? Like, everybody's situation is different. If your ass is homeless, living in a van down by the river, and I come to you, hey, Tag, I give you $1,000 for your entire catalog. In that moment, if you ain't ate in 2 weeks, that might be a good deal for you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Now at the same time, you're striving, you're doing good, and I come at you with that same, and you're like, no, cuz I'll pass. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
It just depends. You know what I'm saying? It just depends. Everybody's situation is different. What makes a good deal? To me, a good deal is anyone that puts money in your pocket. That's a good deal. You know what I mean? Now, could it be a better deal? Hell yeah.
And all deals can be renegotiated.
Don't take $5 when you could have got $5,000. But that, again, comes to the business side of it, and knowing your worth, knowing proper valuation, right? And knowing how to negotiate, like you said, because, again, another thing I tell artists, everything's negotiable.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it honestly is,
Now, because it's a lot of negatives that come from this with streaming, and it's solely just based on the payout, as far as you're not really even, like, we always talk about this, I can't hand you a half of a penny out of my pocket. You know what I mean? It's like, so opposed to the negatives, how can artists specifically benefit from streaming? Like, what's the positives from that?
Well, first off, I mean, let's take a Drake, for example.
Mm-hmm.
He's not hurting. He does just fine in the streaming, like his revenue. Okay, he does just fine. Now, obviously, not every single artist is, putting out those type of numbers, right? But at the end of the day, what I can tell you is this. To me, I constantly lobby. I pushed real hard for the Music Modernization Act, and what I mean by I pushed real hard is I did my part by contacting my legislature, right? Debbie Stabenow, Gary Peters, Paul Mitchell, the representatives and senators for the state of Michigan. I reached out to them and said, hey, when you guys go to Washington, vote yes on this. This is important to my job and to my company, and not just mine, but other creatives like me, And that's something that everybody can do. I mean, if you want to see the streaming rates change, then that's a law that has to be changed.
Yeah.
And the only way to change laws is to go through legislature. So you have to do that. And some people say, well, that's a waste of time. They're never going to listen. Listen, man, all I know is this. If you don't at least make the attempt, then it'll never happen.
And apparently something's working, because I'm noticing, like, once the act passed, I started noticing everything coming about with Spotify just kind of pulling away. Like, okay, well, we overpaid this many artists in this year, and we want that money back, or we're suing this, you know what I mean? So, like, something, they know something, like, all right, is they recognize they're waking up. So we got to figure something out.
And the reason that those streaming laws are like that is because they're old and antiquated.
Yeah.
They're tied to a consent decree that was levied upon ASCAP and BMI many years ago, back in the 40s, by our U.S. government, and that basically told them they can't charge more than X, right? And for certain things. And so that's where that comes from. But, that's in an era in the 40s. They weren't thinking about streaming.
Nah.
They had no idea that was even going to exist. You know what I mean? But now that it does, they have to use that same old antiquated formula to come up with these streaming numbers. The good news is, like I said, with the Music Modernization Act passing, there will be a 45% increase for music publishers over the next 5 years. So that's great,
Another important reason to have your publishing together.
Absolutely, absolutely. And even right now, there's a bill that's going before the Senate and that to create a copyright small claims court. Right now, there's a bigger copyright court on the federal level, but it's very expensive, if you will, to file claims within that court. The smaller one would be a small claims court for smaller businesses like myself, like yourself, and make it a little bit easier for us to file claims versus going through the big system that exists currently. And again, I've already sent out my letters to my hey, I need y'all on this. Help a brother out. You know what I'm saying? Like, trust me, at the end of the day, at least I know I did my part. Now, whether it makes a difference, goes through, I can at least sleep at night knowing that, hey, I didn't not do something. Do you know what I mean?
You weren't just frustrated about it and just didn't do anything.
It's the same thing when it comes to voting for presidents and whatnot. You know what I mean? Like, you can't complain about the situation if you did nothing to try and fix that situation.
Right.
Get out there and vote. It matters. Okay.
Yeah, man. I like these type of episodes because it allows I get to sit back and just be a student. Like, even like stuff that I thought I may have known, like, okay, I pretty much got it. I'm just recap. That's all it's gonna be. But then I learn something new like every time. So I appreciate it, man, for you just coming on. Let them know like the website in which they can find Prosound Media, SILLE Publishing, and your socials as well.
Yeah, we're at prosoundmedia.com. That website's used primarily as a landing page for our music publishers and advertising agencies to find our music. Like on the home page, there's always music up there and stuff like that. But there is a contact button on there, and if you're looking to reach out to me or if you have questions, you can feel free to go to the website. But also, all of our stuff is at Prosound Media. So on IG, it's at Prosound Media, Twitter at Prosound Media. I don't do the snaps. I'm good on that.
Yeah, neither do I.
But our Facebook, we have a Facebook page, SILLE Publishing. We also have a Facebook page for Prosound Media. And and just for clarification, Prosound Media is the parent company that started it all. From there, we started SILLE Publishing, the publishing arm, and then Detroit Digital, the label arm. And that's where we're at with it. And we're doing things. I mean, we've got great talent like yourself on the roster, representing Clear Soul Forces, Book Brown,
all my peoples.
Yeah. And that's what I love. I love representing music that I personally love. And don't get me wrong. Like, we have some artists like our Canadian artists. They're the more little modern sound, if you will, and but it's still stuff that I can get with. You know what I mean? Like, it's still not so far off the wall. Like, if I don't believe in it or can't get behind it, it's hard for me to bring them on board. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I got to believe in it.
You got to stand behind it.
Absolutely.
Makes it organic at the end of the day.
Because again, I've never been about going out and let me round up everybody I can and get this, I want to be the next Bad Boy record. That was never my thing. Every single person, in fact, that is on our roster, whether it's publishing or label side, came to me and asked, hey, would you be interested in this? Let's have a conversation about this. And, we had the conversation and it either went that way or it didn't. Most of the times it does go that way. But every single person that's on my roster, they came to me. I never went out and sought anybody out, and again, that's just part of that organic process.
Yeah, man. Yeah, well, y'all know y'all can find us at leadingbylegendary.net. Find me on social media. Just search name tag Alexander. It's gonna pop up. It's not any artist on there under that name. Name tag Alexander. At Leading Be Legendary on the Instagram. At LABL Music on Twitter. Make sure y'all cop some merch. We out. Again, Theo, man, thank you. I appreciate it.
Hey, thank you, and thank you for having me. And shout out to everybody out there living that dream, man. Hey, stay driven.
Word. Peace.
Let me live out my dream. Let me live out as what I intended to be. If you got me, then I can probably see. Well, my success is not what you expected to be.
The mixes, the blends, the cuts, the scratches, the classics, the cutting edge from one of the most incredible DJs on the planet.
DJ DDT.